When Mother was a little girl, we all know that she used to have various teachers coming to her in her dreams and giving her teachings. And she used to see this one Asian figure who she'd always see herself touching his feet. And in France, you don't greet by touching feet. So she always used to wonder about it, and she was guided to call this being Krishna. She didn't know why. And much later, when she met Sri Aurobindo physically, she recollected that he was the Krishna in her dreams. Now the question is, why was Mother guided to call Sri Aurobindo Krishna? And what is the link between them that Mother knew through intuition without even meeting Sri Aurobindo? So first we discuss what Sri Krishna represents on earth. The word Krishna itself comes from the root Krish, which means Akarshan, the one who's supremely attractive to the human soul. So we could say that he is the male version of Mahalakshmi. Mahalakshmi is that aspect of the mother which is very, very attractive to the human soul, which, I mean, so many times we just see a picture of the mother and that's at the beginning of our journey, because in a way that we can't understand, her picture attracts us. So Krishna represents that power of attraction the divine has on us. So now, words from Savitri. All music is only the sound of his laughter. All beauty, the smile of his passionate bliss. Our lives are his heartbeats. Our rapture, the bridal of Radha and Krishna. Our love is their kiss. So beautifully Sri Aurobindo says, all music is only the sound of his laughter, of the Supreme's laughter, of the one who's supremely attractive to us, whether we call it Krishna or whatever else. All beauty, the smile of his passionate bliss. Our lives are his heartbeats. Our lives, heart represents love, right? So his love beats become our life. Our rapture, the bridal. Our rapture means the attraction we feel towards the divine is the bridal, the marriage of Radha and Krishna. Radha represents the aspiring soul inside us, aspiring to the divine. So our rapture is the marriage, the bridal of Radha and Krishna. Our love is their kiss. Krishna with Radha, Sri Aurobindo says, is the symbol of the divine love. The flute is the call of the divine love. So the flute represents the attraction the divine wields on our soul. So the call of the flute is the call of the divine. Sometimes we hear the flute playing from the image of our guru. I mean, it's not necessarily a sound. Anything that pulls us to something beyond us is the call of the flute. Radha is the personification of the absolute love for the divine, total and integral in all parts of the being, from the highest spiritual to the physical, bringing the absolute self-giving and total consecration of all the being and calling down into the body and the most material nature, the supreme Ananda. So Radha is a personification of self-giving, of absolute love, and Mother says the path is difficult, but self-giving makes it easy. So the more we forget ourselves and give ourselves to that which calls us, the easier the path becomes. And the more we give ourselves, Sri Aurobindo says, the more the divine gives himself to us. So calling down into the body and most material nature, the supreme Ananda. The image of Radha and Krishna, Sri Aurobindo says, has nothing to do with sex. The true symbol for it would not be the human sex attraction, but the soul, the psychic, hearing the call of the divine and flowering into the complete love and surrender that brings the supreme Ananda. That is what Radha and Krishna, by the divine union, bring about in the human consciousness. So these lines are rapture, the bridal of Radha and Krishna, love is their kiss. We experience this so many times when we are meditating, right? When we really connect with love for the divine and we feel that rapture, it's like something in us is reaching out, and what we are reaching out to us is calling us. And in that union, it's Radha and Krishna meeting. And these beautiful lines, our rapture, the bridal of Radha and Krishna, our love is their kiss. So there's a very beautiful story of Radha and Krishna. All the gopis used to be jealous sometimes of Radha because she was obviously Krishna's favorite. And one day they complained that, Krishna, why do you play favorites? We also love you. Why do you give Radha so much of an important place? So he didn't answer. Krishna had his own ways of teaching. So one day he came to the midst of the gopis and frowning and holding his head, and he's saying, I've got this miserable headache. And they said, what can we do to cure you of this headache? So they said, no, this headache won't go if you just massage it. I'll lie down and one of you put your foot on my head. So they all said, how can we do that? If we put our foot on your head, such bad karma will come to us. I mean, how can we put our foot on Lord's head? So then Radha came and they said, we don't know what to do. Krishna has this very bad headache and he's telling us to put our foot on his forehead. And Radha said, oh, so what's the problem? I'll do it. And she, without a thought, put her foot on his head. And Krishna smiled and told the gopis, I hope you got your answer to your question. Radha doesn't think of herself or the karma she gets. If her Krishna is in pain, all of her being just wants to put him at ease. You all thought about yourself and your karma and the consequences. So this is why Radha is my favorite, because she's a symbol of such absolute self-giving that she doesn't think of herself, she thinks only of Krishna. So, Radha's prayer, which Mother gave us, we all know it, but it's beautiful. O thou, whom at first sight I knew for the Lord of my being and my God, receive my offering. Thine are all my thoughts, all my emotions, all the sentiments of my heart, all my sensations, all the movements of my life, each cell of my body, each drop of my blood. I am absolutely and altogether thine, thine without reserve. What thou wilt of me, that I shall be, whether thou choosest for me life or death, happiness or sorrow, pleasure or suffering, all that comes to me from thee will be welcome. Each one of thy gifts will be always for me a gift divine, bringing with it the supreme felicity. So this will always be a very special prayer for me, because it was, in that sense, my initiation into Mother. I didn't know anything really about Mother and Sri Aurobindo, and I was given an All India magazine And the first thing I looked at was a picture of the mother, with that dark kajal and maroon dress, and below it was this Radha's prayer. And I saw that picture and I read this and I was gone. I cannot explain what happened to me, but this was my initiation into Mother. So it will always be a very special prayer for me. Do you remember the story of Sri Krishna and the Gopi? Sri Aurobindo asks how Narad found him differently occupied in each house to which he went, present to each gopi in a different body, yet always the same Sri Krishna. So once Narad found him with all the gopis, the same Sri Krishna but all the gopis. Apart from the devotional meaning of the story, which you know, it is the image of his world Leela. He is Sarva, everyone. Each Purusha with his apparently different Prakriti and action is he. And yet at the same time, he is the Purushottama who is with Radha, the Para Prakriti. So Radha is the supreme, the Para Prakriti, and he is always with her. But each gopi represents a different Prakriti. Each of us who have a call to the divine represents a Prakriti. And Krishna as the Purusha is within each of us. So, who is with Radha, the Para Prakriti, and can withdraw all these into himself when he wills and puts them out again when he wills. So this is a beautiful sonnet on Krishna by Sri Aurobindo. At last I find a meaning of soul's birth into this universe terrible and sweet. I, who have felt the hungry heart of earth, aspiring beyond heavens to Krishna's feet. So we all know Sri Aurobindo's context, right? How when he was in Alipur jail and the universe was terrible and sweet. It's no joy to be in solitary confinement. But that's when he found the meaning of his soul's birth. That's when Krishna came to him in the subtle planes and revealed everything to him. So at last I find a meaning of soul's birth into this universe terrible and sweet. I, who have felt the hungry heart of earth, aspiring beyond heaven to Krishna's feet. I have seen the beauty of immortal eyes. So Sri Aurobindo is speaking from experience. He had actually seen Krishna. He writes, when he was in his solitary confinement, right across he saw a tree where for the first time he actually saw Krishna standing. So he has actually seen this. I have seen the beauty of immortal eyes and heard the passion of the lover's flute and known a deathless ecstasy's surprise, the sorrow in my heart forever mute. So we'll see when he was in Alipur jail and he was going through such difficult times that at one point he almost feared he would lose his mind. And at that moment, a beautiful spiritual awakening came and he saw Krishna in everything. And then the sorrow in his heart forever mute. Imagine no sorrow when you're going to be tried by a British judiciary, when the British government has called you the most dangerous man to walk the Indian soil. But once he saw Krishna, the sorrow in my heart forever mute. Nearer and nearer now the music draws. Life shudders with a strange felicity. All nature is a wide, enamored pause, hoping her Lord to touch, to clasp, to be. For this one moment lived the ages past. The world now throbs, fulfilled in me at last. So now we come to Mother's words. Now we explore the connection between Sri Krishna and Sri Aurobindo. Yeah? In Mother's words, in 1926, I had begun a sort of overmental creation. That is, I had brought the overmind down into matter. For those of you who don't know what the overmind is, not going into too much detail, but there are gradations of the mind. There's the mental consciousness, there's the higher mind, there's the illumined mind, and there's the overmind. Overmind is the plane of the gods. So Sri Krishna opened the earth to the overmind consciousness. That was the function of his avatarhood. But the supermind is even above the overmind. So Sri Krishna paved the way for Sri Aurobindo, who now opens humanity to the supermind, an even higher rung of the mental consciousness. So Mother is saying, I had begun a sort of overmental creation. That is, I had brought the overmind down into matter here on earth. Miracles and all kinds of things were beginning to happen. I asked all these gods to incarnate, to identify themselves with a body. Some of them absolutely refused. So she was asking the gods to come down, and some refused. Well, with my very own eyes, I saw Krishna, who had always been in rapport with Sri Aurobindo, consent to come down into his body, into Sri Aurobindo's body. It was November 24th, 1926. It was this: Krishna consented to descend into Sri Aurobindo's body, to be fixed there, which has never happened before. We've had vibhutis of Krishna, we've had all that. But for Krishna consciousness to be fixed in the human body, it's an unprecedented event. It has never happened before. There is a great difference, you understand, between incarnating, being fixed in the body, and simply acting as an influence that comes and goes and moves about. The gods are always moving about, and it's plain that we ourselves in our inner beings come and go and act in 100 or 1,000 places at once. There is a difference between just coming occasionally and accepting to be permanently tied to a body, between a permanent influence and a permanent presence. It was at that time that he decided to stop dealing with people and retire to his room. So November 1926 actually marks the beginning of the ashram, no? That's when Sri Aurobindo retired to the room and the mother came forward and the ashram started growing. I had begun a sort of overmental creation to make each god descend into a being. There was an extraordinary upward curve. Well, I was in contact with one of these beings and I told Krishna, because I was always seeing him around Sri Aurobindo, this is all very fine, but what I want now is a creation on earth. You must incarnate. He said yes. Then I saw him with my own eyes, inner eyes of course, join himself to Sri Aurobindo. This was in 1926. It was only, how can I put it, a participation from Krishna. It made no difference for Sri Aurobindo personally. It was a formation from the past that accepted to participate in the present creation, nothing more. It was a descent of the Supreme from some time back, now consenting to participate in the new manifestation. Shiva, on the other hand, refused. No, he said, I will come only when you have finished your work. I will not come into the world as it is now, but I am ready to help. Sri Krishna, Sri Aurobindo and the Supreme, Mother's words. In the past, when Sri Aurobindo was there, and I lived in that house which is now the dormitory annex, there was a large veranda and I used to walk up and down on the veranda. Sri Aurobindo was in his room working. And I would walk alone, but I was never alone. Krishna was always there. Krishna, the God Krishna as he is known, but taller, more beautiful, and not with that ridiculous blue, that slate blue. Mother says it's not that Krishna's body was actually blue. It's just that Krishna's light was that whitish blue. So people made his body blue. Not like that. And we always walked up and down together. We would walk together. He was just a little behind, gesture behind, almost against the nape of the neck and shoulders. I was a little in front, as if my head was on his shoulders. You can imagine he was behind her, and the nape, I was a little in front, as if my head was on his shoulders, and he would walk. I didn't have the feeling of my head resting on his shoulders, but that's how it was. And we would walk, we would communicate. That lasted more than a year, every year. Then it ended. Afterwards, I saw him from time to time. When we moved to the new house, I saw him sometimes at night when I was very tired. He would come and I would sleep on his shoulder. Remember when Mother saw Sri Aurobindo before she met him, she was guided to call that Asian figure Krishna, right? Because Sri Aurobindo and Krishna have always been one. So naturally, if Mother had this affinity and she was Sri Aurobindo's Shakti, she was also Krishna's Shakti. But I knew very well that it was a way Sri Aurobindo had of showing himself. When I came here to Mother's present room, Sri Aurobindo had left and I began walking up and down while reciting my mantra. Sri Aurobindo came and he was at exactly the same place as Krishna was. Same gesture, just behind the head. I would walk and he was there, and we would walk together day after day, day after day. And it was becoming so concrete, so marvelous that I started thinking, why look after people and things? I want to remain like this forever. He caught my thought and he said, I'm not coming anymore. And he stopped. I said, very well. And I started my mantra to the Supreme Lord. And I tried a lot to have him come and walk with me, but in no other form but himself. And the force, the presence, everything was there. And I would feel him more and more clearly staying like that just behind me, impersonal. But not personal, because if he'd come in a personal form, Mother would want to merge into him. For a few days, I've had that sort of feeling that I was close to something. And yesterday, for half an hour, the presence, a presence, an absolutely concrete presence. And it was he who told me, first Krishna, then Sri Aurobindo, then I. So first the form of Sri Krishna, then the form of Sri Aurobindo, and then an impersonal presence of the Lord, then I. So once Sri Krishna fixed himself in Sri Aurobindo's body, many times there were devotees who were devotees of Krishna and they were pulled to come to Sri Aurobindo, and they would have a conflict that I'm feeling so drawn to Sri Aurobindo, am I being disloyal to my Krishna? And they would be with that, and on birthdays they would go up to Sri Aurobindo's room. And one of them, when I forget who it was, but one of them, when he went to his room, he didn't see Sri Aurobindo, he just saw Sri Krishna on that seat. And later on, when he told Sri Aurobindo this, he said, but what is the difference between Sri Krishna and myself? So for many of us, we are drawn to Sri Krishna and then we come to Sri Aurobindo. And in my case, I didn't believe in Krishna at all. I didn't really have a feeling for Krishna, and unfortunately our education does us a great disservice. I was a student of science, so all these stories about Krishna seemed too unreal to be true to me. And I had a colleague who kept telling me, come to Vrindavan with me. And I said, I'm not coming to Vrindavan. I'm not interested in Krishna. And I told her this, and then I was out of town somewhere and I was meditating on Mother and Sri Aurobindo. And suddenly Krishna came out of nowhere. I cannot understand how, but 2 days there was just Krishna, Krishna, Krishna everywhere. And I came back and I told this colleague that I would like to go to Vrindavan. And of course that's the only time I could go, but it was the most magical trip. So there's such a link between Sri Aurobindo and Krishna that some people first come to Krishna, then get pulled to Sri Aurobindo. Or like in my case, it was Sri Aurobindo who brought me to Krishna. But either way, both are one. So this is a story of Sahana Di. A few months after Sahana arrived here, she started feeling a sort of uneasiness because she could no more be moved by the name of Krishna, nor could she sing the songs about him as before. Love, devotion, etc. were diminishing, and in their place, emotions were crystallizing around the Mother and Sri Aurobindo. The change brought about an inner conflict. She says, I thought they are all divine. Why then this difference? I mean, mentally she knew it was one, but emotionally she kept feeling a conflict. This tormented her for a long time. Then she had a splendid experience while meditating, which removed all her doubts. She had a vision of Krishna. There appeared before her a radiant image, a gleam with blue light. She fell prostrate at his feet with tears flowing and kept repeating, "Oh my Lord, my beloved God." In that utterance, she felt such an unknown, exquisitely sweet feeling of oneness with him that she exclaimed, "Oh, how intimate, so intimate that there can be none so much my own." This reminds me, so beautiful when you have these visions. I just took a group of teenage children to Pondicherry, and one of the girls was unhappy about the turn of certain events. Things hadn't gone in her favor, and she told me that I was fighting with God, that if you're there, why are you doing all this to me? And I always take them to the Samadhi at night, and we were in that junction between the Samadhi and the meditation room. She was sitting there where she could see the mother's room. And she said suddenly she saw a vision of Mother. She'd worn a floral sari, holding her and stroking her head. And she said, "Miss, my parents love me a lot, but I have never ever felt so loved in my life." So when Sahana Di says this, that oh, how intimate, so intimate, there can be none so much my own. So when we feel this intimacy with the divine, it's an intimacy which sometimes we can't feel with any other human being. Like this girl said, I had very loving parents, but I've never received that kind of love even from my parents. I've never ever in my life felt so loved. Overwhelming her with this feeling, he vanished, uttering these benedictory words, "Why this lassitude? Why are you feeling so sorrowful? I am united with Sri Aurobindo." So she saw Sri Krishna, and he's telling her, "Why are you torturing yourself so much? I am united with Sri Aurobindo." She wrote everything to Sri Aurobindo and asked, "How shall I, so unfit a person, take this experience? Have I understood it rightly?" He answered, "Who else can unite with me except Krishna?" Who else can unite with Sri Aurobindo except Krishna? Now these are Sri Aurobindo's words on his experience with Krishna in jail. Sri Aurobindo says, when I was arrested and hurried to the Lal Bazar Hazat, that's the jail, I was shaken in faith for a while, for I could not look into the heart of his, God's intention. Therefore I faltered for a moment and cried out in my heart to him, what is this that has happened to me? I believed that I had a mission to work for the people of my country, and until that work was done, I should have thy protection. Like this girl, Sri Aurobindo of course faced 100 times worse, and he's questioned God. Why then am I here and on such a charge? A day passed, and a second day, and a third, when a voice came to me from within, wait and see. Then I grew calm and waited. I was taken from Lal Bazar to Alipur, from one jail to another, and was placed for a month in a solitary cell apart from men. There I waited day and night for the voice of God within me, to know what He had to say to me, to learn what I had to do. In this seclusion, the earliest realization, the first lesson came to me. I remembered then that a month or more before my arrest, a call had come to me to put aside all activity, to go into seclusion and to look into myself so that I might enter into closer communion with Him. I was weak and could not accept the call. My work was very dear to me, and in the pride of my heart, I thought that unless I was there, it would suffer or even fail and cease. Therefore, I would not leave it. It seemed to me that He spoke to me again. So Sri Aurobindo admits that he'd got a voice telling him that the freedom fighting activities he was pursuing, he should withdraw from them, but he was too attached. He didn't pay attention to that. He spoke to me again and said, the bonds you had not the strength to break, I have broken for you, because it is not my will, nor was it ever my intention that you should continue. See, somewhere in Savitri, Sri Aurobindo refers to the mother as our beloved despot. Despot is tyrant. Whatever she wills will happen. We might resist it in 100 ways, but finally her will prevail, and it even prevailed over Sri Aurobindo. Her will is the Lord's will. Her will wasn't that he should continue, but when she didn't listen, she had to take action to make him listen. I have had another thing for you to do, and it is for that I've brought you here, to teach you what you could not learn for yourself and to train you for my work. Then he placed the Gita in my hands. He is Krishna. His strength entered into me, and I was able to do the sadhana of the Gita. I was not only to understand intellectually, but to realize what Sri Krishna demanded of Arjuna, and what he demands of those who aspire to do his work, to be free from repulsion and desire, to do work for him without demand for fruit, to renounce self-will and become a passive and faithful instrument in his hands, to have an equal heart for high and low. In Gita he says, no, Shubh Ashubh Parityag, give away the distinction between fortunate and unfortunate. Be equal-minded to everything. Friend and opponent, success and failure, yet not to do his work negligently. I realized what the Hindu religion meant. When the case opened in the lower court and we were brought before the magistrate, I was followed by the same insight. He, that is Krishna, said to me, when you were cast into jail, did not your heart fail? And did you not cry out to me, where is thy protection? Now look at the magistrate. Look at the prosecuting counsel. Prosecuting counsel was the person who would fight against Sri Aurobindo. I looked, and it was not the magistrate whom I saw. It was Vasudeva. It was Narayana who was sitting there on the bench. I looked at the prosecuting counsel, and it was not the counsel for the persecution that I saw. It was Sri Krishna who sat there. It was my lover and friend who sat there and smiled. Now do you fear, he said. Now do you fear, he said. I am in all men, and I overrule their actions and their words. My protection is still with you, and you shall not fear. This is such a beautiful line. I am in all men, and I overrule their actions and words. I control their actions and words. It's so beautiful if we apply this to our lives. The way, nothing can be more life-threatening than Sri Aurobindo being tried, a British magistrate, a person hired by the British to prove he's guilty, and with his inner vision he just sees that both are Krishna. It's not a mental thought, he sees them as Krishna. Then how can he be afraid? And he hears a voice saying that don't be afraid of the mask I'm wearing. From behind the mask it's me. I will finally control what the mask speaks, what it says. Apply it to your life. When you're with threatening people, when you're with people who are trying you in different trials of life. So beautiful to think they are also Sri Aurobindo, Krishna, Mother, whatever. And this line, I am in all men, and I overrule what they say and how they act. And that thought that this person can never ultimately harm me, because the Lord inside them will control them to give me only as much pain as is good for my growth. It can be very empowering if we really make Gurudev's this experience our own. My protection is still with you, and you shall not fear. This case which is brought against you, leave it in my hand. It is not for you. It was not for the trial that I brought you here, but for something else. The case itself is only a means for my work and nothing more. I knew all along what he meant for me, for I heard it again and again. Always I listened to the voice within. I am guiding, therefore fear not. Turn to your own work for which I brought you to jail. And when you come out, remember never to fear, never to hesitate. Remember that it is I who am doing this, not you nor any other. Therefore, whatever clouds may come, whatever dangers and sufferings, whatever difficulties, whatever impossibilities, there is nothing impossible, nothing difficult. I am in the nation and its uprising, and I am Vasudeva. I am Narayana, and what I will shall be, not what others will. And in Savitri there's that beautiful line, whether it seem good or evil to men's eyes, only for good the secret will can work. The secret will is Krishna's will, the supreme will. And what I will shall be, not what others will. What I choose to bring about, no human power can stay. What I choose to bring about, no human power can stay. Mother's words. Sri Aurobindo came to tell the world of the beauty of the future that must be realized. He came to give not a hope, but a certitude of the splendor towards which the world moves. The world is not an unfortunate accident. It is a marvel which moves towards its expression. So here again, Mother's reminding us that don't get carried away by appearances. In Savitri there's a line, whatever the appearance we must bear, whatever the appearance of life, whatever our strong ills and present fate, when nothing we can see but drift and bale, drift randomness, bale sorrow, a mighty guidance leads us still through all. So don't get caught up with appearances. This world is not an unfortunate accident. It is a marvel which moves towards its expression. This world, the world needs the certitude of beauty of the future, and Sri Aurobindo has given that assurance. Sri Aurobindo does not belong to a country but to the whole earth. His teachings lead us towards a better future. Mother says that Sri Aurobindo is a decisive action straight from the Supreme. The Supreme has decided to take the world towards its future beauty, and that decision precipitated and manifested Sri Aurobindo to come down. So he is a decisive action straight from the Supreme. Sri Aurobindo is a permanent avatar of the Lord. He is always with us all, and we can all be in constant contact with him if we do the needful, which is simply to love him. So beautiful this sentence is. Mother says that Sri Aurobindo is a permanent avatar. He is always there, and we can be in constant touch with him provided one condition is met. What's that one condition? Which is simply to love him. He makes it so easy. If we love him, that love is the key that opens all doors. Then we are constantly in contact with him. Mother's words. It's a piece titled Sri Aurobindo Opens the Doors. Sri Aurobindo has arranged everything so that my work becomes easy. Sri Aurobindo has the key to open this region of the inconscious. So, very often he is sung of in bhajans on him as the Lord of the yoga of the night. What is the night? Night is darkness, inconscient. And Sri Aurobindo's whole work was to bring light into the inconscient. So, Sri Aurobindo has arranged everything so that my work becomes easy, Mother says. Sri Aurobindo has the key to open this region of the inconscious. He turns the key to open the door and illumines my way. And very gently I enter to infuse the force, the light, and the divine Ananda into the body of this inert and obscure matter. So beautiful, you can almost feel like there's a dense dark mud and Sri Aurobindo is digging into it metaphorically, and Mother fills the hole created with light. So Savitri, there's a beautiful line, she dug wells of light, WELLS, in the core of darkness. That was the Mother's work, to dig wells of light in the core of darkness. And that's why this action is so obvious when we go to the Samadhi or Pondicherry. This group I took, there was one child who the first night at Pondicherry told me that I want to go home. I suddenly felt so much fear that I want to get out of here. So Pondi has this whole energy. Obviously, if you have a lot of fear in your subconscious, Mother's force works there to bring it out. So I sat with her, I made her feel it out. The fear released, and then she felt a whole burden lift off her. So in Pondi, we'll very often have our best and worst times. Worst times because what needs to come out is pulled out and released, because that's the work of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. When it is touched by this transforming light, the atoms that constitute, when it, yani, matter is touched by the Mother's transforming light, the atoms that constitute this matter awake to a new consciousness. Like this, the work continues and spreads or multiplies. You understand, Sri Aurobindo is the soul of matter, the aspiration of the whole humanity. That's his, can we just move that? That's his symbol. You can just put it by this, okay. So that's a symbol, the aspiration of humanity. He is the light in matter, or the spirit incarnated in matter. Sri Aurobindo has separated himself from the Supreme and has plunged into this matter in a body with this load of inconscience and ignorance upon himself to awaken them to the divine life. For this he has invoked the Supreme, the grace to descend here below on this earth to help his work. That is why I have heard his call. I have come down here into matter in a physical body, into this world of pain, suffering and death. And it is in the union of both of us that the world will witness gradually this miracle of a divine life. It is because of him that I have descended. It is this intense aspiration of matter from below that he has sent up, and the grace has responded by a descent. So we all know that when Sri Aurobindo used to write Savitri, as he wrote it, he would read out the passages to the mother, and very often mother would be stumped because she would have had the spiritual experience and Sri Aurobindo would have written about it in Savitri. So in Savitri, there's a recurring theme that Ashwapati, who is represented by Sri Aurobindo, and Savitri is represented, of course, by the mother. So Ashwapati, the king's yoga, there's the whole section on Ashwapati's yoga where he does so much tapasya, meets the Supreme and prays to the Supreme that send down some form of you that will uplift humanity. And in that glorious canto, The Vision and the Boon, the Supreme says, yes, one will descend to uplift humanity, and then the mother was born. So Sri Aurobindo is the aspiration of matter which paved the way to receive the Divine Mother's footfalls on earth. So what a blessed hour for the earth. It is an occasion for a tremendous progress so that the whole universe may blossom into a great elan towards the goal of its existence. With our help, which will be at its disposal, and a will to pursue, what could there be that would be impossible to realize? This is the moment. This is the moment Sri Aurobindo calls the hour of God. He says this is a time of unprecedented spiritual growth for humanity. If we take one step towards God, we'll make more progress than ever before in the history of earth. It is only because of Sri Aurobindo that I can accomplish this work. He does the major portion of the work. He invites me. He opens the door and I enter into the depths of this inconscience, and I kindle the light to illumine the atoms in the torpor, darkness of inconscience. I put there a bit of force to awaken them, and I give this divine love so that they may aspire more. I charge each atom in this way. Now the same thing from Savitri. Okay, these are words from Savitri, page 22. A world's desire compelled her mortal's birth. Her is the Divine Mother. A world's desire compelled her mortal birth. One in the front of the immemorial quest, protagonist of the mysterious play, in which the unknown pursues himself through forms and limits his eternity by the hours. The blind void struggles to live and see. A thinker and toiler in the ideal's air, brought down to earth's dumb need her radiant power. So this thinker and toiler in ideal's air is Ashwapati. So a world's desire, Ashwapati's call to the divine represents the world's desire, compelled her mortal birth. One in the front of the immemorial quest. Ashwapati was the leader of the immemorial quest, the quest of earth to get spiritualized, protagonist, the main character of the mysterious play in which the unknown is the supreme, pursues himself through forms. He hides in many forms, wanting to rediscover himself in the form, and limits his eternity by the hours. He is immortal, but he dons the garb of mortality. So this supreme is the protagonist of the mysterious play, and the blind void struggles to live and see. A thinker and toiler in the ideal's air, brought down to earth, earth's dumb need her radiant power. The radiant power is the Divine Mother. Ashwapati's tapasya brought down to earth's dumb need her radiant power. His was a spirit that stooped from larger spheres. Remember, his here is Ashwapati, and Ashwapati represents Sri Aurobindo. His was a spirit that stooped from larger spheres into a province of ephemeral sight. Ephemeral is temporary sight. A colonist from immortality, a pointing beam on earth's uncertain roads. His birth held up a symbol and a sign. His human self, like a translucent cloak, covered the all-wise who leads the unseeing world. So his human self, Sri Aurobindo appears to be in a human body, but his human self was a translucent cloak. Translucent is something you can see through. You could see through to the divinity that the mortal body contained, covered the all-wise who leads the unseeing world. These are again Mother's words. A beautiful gift by Sri Aurobindo on his 90th birth anniversary. So this was on 15th August, on his 90th birth anniversary. So if he left in 1950, what would be, what was his birth date? Do you know his birth date? So what year would it be? 90th birth? It's written later? It's written 1962. So this was she's talking about August 15th in 1962 in conversation with a disciple on 18th August. We had a meditation here on the 15th at 10 o'clock. At 9:45, Mother says, I was sitting here at the table in a total silence, and then I can't say Sri Aurobindo came, for he is always here, but he manifested in a special way, concretely in the subtle physical. He became so tall that sitting cross-legged as they do here, he covered the whole compound, even extended a bit beyond it. He was literally sitting upon the compound. So to the extent that the people meditating were not close, they were all inside him. Can you imagine? So huge. He was sitting like that, and I could feel the friction of his presence in the subtle physical, and utterly physical friction. And I saw him. I saw him sitting there very tall and perfectly proportioned. And then he started gently descending. This descent is what caused the friction. Gently, very gently, so as to not give people a shock. Then he settled there and stayed for a little more than half an hour. A few minutes more like that, absolutely still, but fully concentrated on all the people. They were inside him. So this was one experience, but I think so many times when we might be at the playground or the samadhi, so many similar things must be happening and we just feel peace or something, but actually it's their concrete presence descending into us. Now Mother's words again. There, in that immense cave of the inner being, she's talking about the psychic being, one must plunge to find the inner support, One must descend and descend further, more and more, plane after plane. Here she is describing the whole process of meditation. It's a very beautiful passage. One must descend further and further, more and more, plane after plane, consciousness after consciousness, leaving behind all imprints, and enter into the very depths to find the serene peace. Within this immense quietude of the being, far from the exterior noise, far from the anguish and the pain, far from the thoughts and the imaginations, far, far away from waves of sensations, one must enter very carefully, there where the ego does not exist, to feel the presence. There is yet further to go, still more to discover, to turn the consciousness inwards where the power vibrates, all powerful, which accomplishes everything. One must go still deeper where there is no act, no impression, no ego, no separate self, nothing but waves of joy and a vibration which is at the origin of everything. So that source vibration which is in our psychic, like that, equal and of perfect equanimity. To feel and to be united in this perfect and immutable peace. Then to enter into that serene beatitude where the consciousness is completely identified with the central being. There is no duality anymore, no existence anymore, nothing at all, to be one with the spark of the immortal flame, the immanent divine, the unique and the one, the soul that resides in us. And still deeper down in this purifying flame resides Sri Aurobindo, immutable Ananda, all-powerful, the invincible, the supreme Lord of our existence, the manifestation of the omnipresence in existence, the omnipotence in his effectuations, the omniscience of the supreme power manifested, one who is the goal, the master, the beloved, who is also the supreme Lord. When one truly calls him, it is from here, Mother indicates the heart, that Sri Aurobindo answers. It vibrates by his name. With his consciousness, there resounds the name of Sri Aurobindo because his imprint is there. It's so beautiful. One of the most powerful meditation is to just focus in the heart and say Om Sri Aurobindo Ma, because in the psychic, the very imprint of their names are there. And the most powerful way to make it come alive is to water the psychic with their names, because his imprint is there. In the very depths, it is he who resides. All existence lives by him. It vibrates by him. The whole universe vibrates by him. He is there in everything, vibrant and animating by his presence. The delight of his name penetrates and purifies all, rings and resounds everywhere in the sublime joy, eternal and true. With his name, the existence takes on a meaning. To rediscover the immanent divine hidden in everything, in this whole universe, to find him is the eternal game. To feel him is to feel the immutable peace of perfect purity. To realize him is to find the eternal joy. To call him is to unlock the doors of infinity. This is the power behind the name Sri Aurobindo. And the mother goes into a trance. I am there as a presence in the eternal flame, the power that animates and initiates the action, the peace that renders all sweet and beautiful, the joy that overflows and sublimates, the light that purifies, and the vibration that sanctions. Sri Aurobindo is there as a sustaining entity. Remember what we read earlier? Sri Aurobindo represents the soul of matter which aspires, which calls to the. So once the mother was asked, what is it in us that aspires? And the mother says, of course, it's the divine in you that aspires. And the divine in us is Sri Aurobindo's presence that aspires. And when that calls, the mother enters and does her work. So Sri Aurobindo is there as a sustaining entity, and me, I'm there like a guide. In fact, it is the same identity in two, one who observes, the witness, the other that effectuates, the Shakti. So long as one has not realized that, one cannot understand anything. Yes, my child, he who recognizes Sri Aurobindo and me, in fact, it is the same thing, the same identity. For him, all obstacles, all difficulties, all traps, all the so-called interruptions on the march towards the truth are swept away and removed forever. So beautiful, one who recognizes that Sri Aurobindo and me are one and the same. For him, all obstacles, all difficulties, all interruptions are swept away and removed forever. In this life as well as after death, and in the lives to come till eternity. Yes, for him the Lord is all powerful. Only to repeat, Ma Sri Aurobindo, Ma Sri Aurobindo. She goes into a trance. That is enough, Ma Sri Aurobindo. So beautifully, step by step, Mother has given us the whole process of meditation. What has she said? Firstly, go into your heart. You start from the surface, and then using your breath, attention, focus, you go deeper and deeper inside. And then you just say Om Shri Aurobindo Ma or Ma Shri Aurobindo, whatever comes to you. And you just keep repeating that, and you don't have to do anything else, because the rest is their work. You have to just make it. That's the beauty, you know. I've realized that in meditating on them, the less we do, the better they work. If we put in a lot of technique and our mind, that interferes. We have to just make ourselves available, open to them, and they do the rest. So let's practice that. I don't need to guide you through it. You know the steps. Let's just few minutes collectively do that. If you want, start by putting your hand on the heart. It helps. Just one ingredient that makes this work is to tune into love for them. Remember what we read earlier, that Sri Aurobindo is always there, and you need only one thing to connect with him: love for him. So love, gratitude, enter the heart with those emotions, and then say their names. Gently fold the hands together in a namaste. Even if you can do this meditation just 5-6 minutes, 2 or 3 times a day, very, very powerful to keep you grounded. Take a long, slow inhalation, exhale with Om.